Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Eric.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
Hey, welcome. Happy holidays, Eric.
Happy holidays. We're getting close to the Christmas time, aren't we?
Yes, the drinks are still flowing.
Oh, of course.
I've shifted over to Jack Daniel's single barrel rye.
All right.
It's nice and chilly, and the rye was warming me up.
You know, I should have done a hot toddy. I wasn't prepared. It would have been great to get a hot. This would be awesome to do a hot toddy. Maybe for a later episode, I'll set something up.
We'll get festive with it.
I'm still just sipping on a Tropicalia. I mean, not the same Tropicalia, but I am still going down that road. But yeah, so here we are, episode 3. We're a good half hour into Rocky.
Yeah, man.
4 at this point.
I gotta step up I gotta work on my Stallone impression. So this is a weird guy.
He is a weird guy. Stallone is equal parts buffoon and equal parts philosopher.
Well, he knows what will connect with an audience. It seems like he knows that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's also like he's sort of not that bright. I don't know.
He's so strange.
But he can get down to the lowest common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, nothing that he does is really artistic.
No.
But it all resonated with the audience at the time, Well,
Rocky was just sort of this perfect lightning in a bottle situation. And, I think if in my opinion, I feel like he's been chasing Rocky for the rest of his career.
Of course, yeah.
And like that's sort of become his white dragon.
Yeah, it's like that sort of perfect blend of like critically acclaimed and I'm a good, so it must mean I'm a good writer. My ideas are great. Gosh, that Sly documentary that's on Netflix is great because for some reason they had a really in-depth interview with Tarantino talking about Tarantino's take on Stallone's career, and he said that Stallone said some crazy shit. Like after Rocky, maybe he had a couple of bombs. One was a movie called Fist, which is like F period I period S period T period.
Oh my God, never even heard of that.
It was kind of like a Jimmy Hoffa. It was like a labor organizing story where he plays this like guy who goes from like a dock worker to the head of the union and then gets killed in the end.
That actually seems like it could be an interesting movie.
And that movie tanked.
Terrible title.
And then he did a movie called Paradise Alley, which was like set in the late 40s where Stallone, he wrote and directed that one, and he and his friends are like these sort of street hustler guys who are organizing like these underground like sort of wrestling events, that one really bombed. And apparently in some interview before it came out, like Stallone said some shit like, I don't think it's possible for me to have a movie bomb. And it's like, first of all, you're like 2 movies into your career.
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck?
But like just the hubris of like, he had bought into his own like genius, reputation or whatever, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
That's amazing. But he does, I mean, that director's cut documentary, it did seem like he had some ability to reflect on his imperfections.
Yeah. He had some humility that he didn't have back then, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wild. He's I don't know that he's human. No. I think he's like an alien or something. He's like acting human.
I agree. He is doing his best impersonation of being
a normal human might act.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But before we get into all that, I had our fellow podcaster Katie had recently posted, I think, that it was the anniversary of this movie's release or something.
Next year will be in 2025.
Well, but just
right?
like the day on this day in 1985, whatever. And she referred to this movie as the most rewatchable Rocky movie. I'm like, you know what? That's a good debate. She might be right on that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because I'm like, Rocky 1 is a great movie, but it's not one that you just sit and crack open a beer and watch Rocky.
Right. I don't know anybody where Rocky 1 is a comfort movie.
Yeah,
you know?
and Rocky 2 I like a lot, but it's sort of similar to 1, the vibes. It's like more of a character study drama.
Yeah.
This and Rocky 3 are super rewatchable for me because the villains are so like cartoonish.
Yeah, it was honestly this Rocky 4 one has been the biggest journey for me watching these movies because there is a director's cut, because there is that documentary about making the director's cut. I understand so much more of like background about the sort of the pathos of this movie than most of the movies we do.
No, there's like a lot more out there to consume about it.
Rocky 5 is unwatchable entirely.
Yeah.
I can't. That movie
They were like trying to get back to basics and then just no thanks.
But yeah,
What's your favorite of the franchise?
Well, I mean, are we talking about the favorite film or talking about favorite movie?
If you had to sit down and watch, well, for 2 questions. First, if you just had to sit down and watch one, like one time,
it would be Rocky 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you had to take one with you to the desert island and that was the only movie you were going to have.
Yeah, it would be 3 or 4. Yeah, it would not be Rocky 1. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When it became more of just like a pop culture spectacle that 3 and 4 were.
I might actually do 3 just because I love Mr. T and Hulk Hogan so much.
Dude, Clubber Lang is the most menacing villain.
Yeah.
But also like he felt like this feels like a real life person.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
There have been personalities like this. This was like Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson was on the scene.
Yep, I agree. He was a totally believable boxer. It was a great fight too. Like one of my favorite Rocky fights was between Clubber Lang and
I would say the first Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, the fights were somewhat realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocky 3 is when it went to that larger than life. Like it's nothing but power punches.
Right, exactly.
But they were smart enough to make the fights only 2 or 3 rounds because you can't fight like that for 15 rounds.
No way.
This movie we're talking about now is nothing but power punches and it goes 15 rounds, and that is not possible.
This is literally Captain America versus Iron Man in Civil War level.
Yeah, it's
fighting.
like when you watch like Thor fight the Hulk.
Right, exactly.
And it's like,
that's exactly what this is.
But what are the stakes? Like no one can be hurt, apparently.
No.
You know?
Until it matters that someone can be hurt.
Yeah. But we're here back on part 3.
Yeah.
I will let you try to recap what has happened in this wild movie.
This is going to take 10 minutes because the plot of this movie is so dense. There's a robot. That's really the only thing I care about. Anyway, so the movie opens with a flashback from Rocky 3, the Rocky Apollo freeze frame. Then we're at Rocky's home somewhere. We think it's L.A. It could be Philly. We don't know.
Yeah.
Ivan Drago's coming to the United States, and he wants to fight Rocky. Rocky declines. Apollo says, I want to do it for a variety of reasons, patriotism, hubris, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Rock and Adrian says, bad idea. Apollo says, go screw yourself. So they set up the fight. So then it's fight time. We get a 5-minute long song from James Brown singing I Live in America. Apollo dances around him. Fight starts. Drago kills Apollo in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it's it. That's it. We're caught up. Like that's the whole plot of the movie so far. Everybody.
Yeah, it's a fade to Apollo's funeral, and it's like holy shit, they actually killed Apollo.
They killed him. They fucking killed him. I know.
I was thinking to myself, wow, this must have been a shock, like for moviegoers.
Oh, I know. It had to be huge.
But then I rewatched the old trailers for the movie, and they gave away that Apollo got killed in the trailer.
Oh my god!
I'm like, what a misstep. That seems insane to me.
Yeah,
that could have been like one of the biggest shocks ever in a movie. Like, holy shit, Apollo died.
Oh my god! I did not know that they put that
they
in
gave
the trailers.
Away. It removed so much of like the drama of it.
Right,
all.
I know.
You may as well just like show Rocky winning the fight at the end in the trailer.
Where it is the linchpin of this film. That moment is what drives the rest of this movie to completion.
As Eric, who was our guest in the first episode, was saying, like, Apollo Creed is just such a character.
Yeah, everybody knows who Apollo Creed is.
And like, I feel weird, awkward, like as a white dude talking about this. But like when I used to host the podcast with Mike, who's a black dude, he said like Apollo Creed, like as a young black kid growing up, like Apollo Creed is one of the few characters you could look at in a mainstream movie who was not the bad guy necessarily, like not an evil villain, not a drug dealer or a thug, whatever. Like he's a black dude who you could idolize and look up to. And the fact that, they killed him off is just like, and I think Eric had similar feelings about Apollo, like that he was an important character for the black culture in movies, like a mainstream Hollywood movie where a dude was allowed to be like a flamboyant, confident dude and not a villain, not like he was a likable protagonist, you know? So the fact they killed him off is just kind of nuts.
I just think that Carl Weathers is a great actor, and he's a better actor than Stallone.
That's true. Like they brought out the best in each other, I think. But
everything that you said is 100% correct, and I've heard similar things myself. And it was a shocking moment to kill off Apollo Creed. Yeah. And I mean, even as a kid, when I was watching this in TBS, and I didn't have the context of the other movies, when that character died, I knew, to Stallone's credit, the movie does a good enough job of establishing that Apollo Creed is an important person, not only in the world of boxing, but in Rocky's life.
Yes.
That I remember always being shocked. Every time I watched the movie, I was always equally shocked when Apollo dies. So it was, we talked about this early on. I don't remember a lot. Well, I mean, the movie isn't complicated, but one of the things that really has always stuck out in my mind about Rocky IV is that moment where Apollo dies. Like, him twitching on the mat in the ring, like that image is burnt into my brain.
Wow.
Right? I mean, it was super dramatic for me as a kid.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's so intense. And I think you're like, no, this guy's like larger than life. He can't die.
You can't die. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But now, so for the second movie in a row in this franchise, we've got Rocky's mentor died, and that's what propels him forward, And if you're thinking that seems like lazy storytelling, you're not alone.
It's because it is.
I think Stallone said in this documentary that is available to watch on YouTube about like him doing the director's cut of the movie. He says, that he wished that he hadn't killed Apollo. He wished he'd just crippled him in a wheelchair.
Which is like, I don't know how that's better, honestly.
That's no less lazy. That's no less lazy than killing him off. But also, imagine how that would have changed the franchise.
Well, I mean, he talks about it in the documentary, like, well, there would have been a Rocky V, or there would have been a Rocky Balboa, and there probably wouldn't be a Creed
franchise. The Creed movies wouldn't have happened.
Like, are you saying that it's a good thing? That I mean, like, what is your pitch here, Stallone? Yeah.
So now we're at the funeral. Rocky is speaking about what Apollo stood for, what he lived for, and what he died for.
Yeah.
And Rocky's saying, Apollo, you always did things your way. And I didn't always understand that, but now I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so nonsensical.
No.
What? Now you understand his reasons? Like now that he's dead, now it makes sense to me now that you died. No, it doesn't. How does it make any more sense? It makes less sense now. Then he's like, I'll never forget you, Apollo. It's pretty much the worst, like the shittiest eulogy I've ever seen.
Which, I mean, to Stallone's credit, clearly he realizes that because in the director's cut, it's not him delivering the eulogy. It's who should have been delivering the eulogy. Duke. Yeah.
Who gave a really good eulogy. And it was almost like this epic sort of like mythic hero eulogy about like people like Apollo always are looking to find their limit.
Yeah.
And he found his limit and he died on his own terms.
As a hero. I mean, it's straight up, again, you talked about this earlier, like a Viking's death, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The wild. And Rocky did speak at the funeral and it was much more like emotional.
He was crying.
And he's talking about, I owe everything I have in this life to you, Apollo. And, it was like deep. And I feel like Stallone was like, no, we can't see Rocky cry. That's soft.
Right.
It's like Stallone's just not a human, is the thing. As we said, he's not. As we were doing other Stallone movies on the podcast, like Over the Top or Cobra or Tango and Cash, is like we always imagine Stallone would be like, how would a human act in this situation? And what would a human say?
Right.
And it's like a human might say this, but I'm like not a human. So
as
I'll do my best impression of a human.
As we've established earlier in this very episode, he's clearly an alien from another planet, like, doing his best impression of a human.
I feel like he's just like, no, I look bad crying, so we're not going to use the stuff of me crying. We're going to use the stuff of me being very cool, even though it really doesn't make sense what I'm saying. And then he like lays the championship belt on the casket. Like, do you think they buried the belt?
I guess I don't. I've been to funerals and they typically leave all the flowers and stuff on top of the casket. Yeah,
throw the dirt on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess he was buried with the belt. So all right.
And then in the director's cut, there was another scene with he and Adrian where Adrian was saying, this is nobody's fault.
Yeah.
This is it's not your fault. You don't need to feel guilty about it. But
trying to talk him off of the cliff that we all know he's going to jump off of in a moment.
But in this movie, we get a smash cut to more press conference audio over a montage of newspaper headlines. And I think Stallone said in that documentary maybe that he was worried that people would just get bored if the movie doesn't just keep barreling forward at a breakneck pace.
Right.
It's like the rationale of a cokehead.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh, clearly. I mean,
I'm bored.
Yeah.
People are talking for 2 minutes. I'm bored now. I'm bored. You're boring, Zoidberg. I'm bored. You're boring. No.
And the director's cut, they added a scene with him at the boxing commission. And it's this was a good scene. This is an important scene.
Important plot development you cut out where it's reduced to a newspaper headline.
Which, again, if you're playing the drinking game, you need to take another drink here.
Yeah, but Rocky seems to have agreed to a fight with Drago.
That's what we can assume.
Right? We're seeing all these clippings where it's calling the situation with Apollo the death from above.
Yeah.
Don't even know what that means.
I have no idea.
Apparently the public
because he's tall.
He's tall.
I just get it. Yeah, I just got it.
Apparently the public's though in an uproar about the death. They demand someone be held accountable for this. And they're asking, if the fight between Rocky and Drago is about guilt or glory. For some reason on one of the newspaper or the magazine covers, it's just a huge close-up of Ludmilla. I don't know. She was an incredible looking person.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's another newspaper says the American Boxing Commission, like you said, would not sanction the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been forced to surrender his belt, I think.
Which is, that was what I took. That's how
so
I
he's not
interpreted
the champ anymore,
No,
I guess. That's pretty important for them to reduce it to a newspaper clipping.
I don't know, man.
And then Newsweek asks, is this pride or suicide?
Ooh,
I
good
that.
headline.
Yeah. Good. So at a press conference, we're seeing the Soviets are being asked if they think that Drago is going to beat Rocky as bad as he beat Apollo. And Nikolai says, this is about science and evolution, and Rocky doesn't have the genetics to beat Drago. It's full on eugenics, this Nazi
Russian
shit.
This motherfucker knows how to throw some shade. That's all I'm saying.
So he says, Drago's the most perfectly trained athlete ever, and it's physically impossible for this little man to win. He says Drago is a look at the future. So in the making of the director's cut thing that we were talking about, remember where Stallone says he had originally planned for Drago to be this sort of primordial, primitive, Cro-Magnon type beast.
Yeah.
He
was just supposed to be this brute, this almost like
Zangief on Street Fighter.
Zangief's like a Street
hairy,
Fighter.
Sort of like an ape, like he's King Kong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or something.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry.
No.
Neanderthal. I couldn't find the word.
That's it. A caveman or something. But then once he got turned on to Dolph Lundgren, the existence of Dolph Lundgren, who was this very elegant and sleek and beautiful and intelligent, he's flawless, a perfect android, or something like that. And that flipped everything around. He's like, no. Drago's not like a Neanderthal. He's like the future.
Right.
And Rocky has to get primitive to beat him.
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually kind of brilliant when you hear him talk about it. And it's no. To beat the future, he has to even go more back to basics. Yeah. I thought it was cool. And it shows the insight of oh no, Stallone has a functioning, a high functioning brain. He can realize I'm very curious to how the whole him fighting this big brutal beast of a man versus what it turned into, which was no, this is a flawless futuristic sort of.
I mean, it's much better. I mean, I can imagine what that other version of the movie would have been, and it would have been comical to the point of you couldn't take it serious, right? I mean, I think the only reason this works is playing into the 80s fear that Russia was somehow better than us.
Getting ahead of us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
If you portray Russia as being behind us, then there are no stakes because you're just America's
it's
great. We already know this.
Right?
It's exactly right.
No, they're not going back in time. They're what if they're 3 steps ahead of us?
Right, exactly. And so this version,
I like that.
The actual version of the movie played into that Cold War, paranoia. So yeah,
that's awesome, dude. Good insights, man.
That's what I'm thinking.
That might be the bourbon or the rye talk, or the whiskey, but dude, I'm
pretty deep into my cups with Tropicalia at this point.
But yeah, so the reporters are asking, how big is the purse for the fight? And Rocky's like, no money. This isn't about money.
This isn't about money.
They want to know when it is. December 25th. Why Christmas? And he's like, that's what I was told.
And
what the fuck?
You, fair audience, might be wondering, had up to this point, now you know why this is our Christmas season episode.
Yeah, this is a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
Rocky 4 is a Christmas movie.
Also,
that's what I was told is ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous
They're the ones
answer.
who need you to fight. You don't have to just agree to any crazy terms they want.
Right.
That's what I was told.
Just like I have no idea. Also, by the way, this is the last we're going to hear of this whole Christmas thing.
Well, later in the fight, and the kids at home watching, there is a Christmas tree.
There's a Christmas tree in the back. Okay, granted.
Sure.
Granted, I will give you that.
'Tis the season.
Oh, my God.
And then they want to know, where's the fight? It's in Russia.
In Russia.
The press can't believe it. Nikolai is like, this fight's going to happen in the Soviet Union or it doesn't happen. It's like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Everything about this is absurd.
It would have been we're on neutral ground. We're going to fight in Switzerland.
We're going to go to Poland and fight this.
Yeah, I don't know. But they would have fought in Berlin and the ring would have been right on the boundary.
Right above
half of the wall. Each half is on one half of the city. No. But yeah, the press can't believe what they're hearing. Nikolai is like, Ludmila, tell him why we can't fight here. And Ludmila is like, we fear for Drago's life. He's been getting all sorts of death threats. The press collectively rolls their eyes at this bullshit.
Rightly so.
And it's like, I was wondering, where are they holding this press conference? And there's a huge American flag hanging on the walls.
I know. Overcompensation much.
Tall. But Ludmila is saying, the people are saying Drago is a killer. He's not a killer. He's just a professional fighter. You could be forgiven for forgetting that Drago's even at this press conference.
I know.
Because he doesn't say a word.
I don't know that he moves.
He barely gets a close-up.
Right, exactly. I don't know that he's breathing. Prop. Yeah, I don't know that he's breathing through any of these moments.
Ludmilla is getting all the dialogue.
Yeah.
What's weird also is in the director's cut, basically, he also cut Ludmilla almost completely out of the movie, which I think was a mistake. I think it's more like sour grapes. I don't want to have my ex-wife getting any shine or whatever like that. But in the original script, I think Drago's wife barely spoke, and the Nikolai, the handler, manager guy, whatever, had sort of all that dialogue. Mm-hmm. And I think to me it works for the reasons I said earlier, which is this is propaganda. So it's sort of like Russia's shoehorning this person in as his spokesperson, and the pretty face that fronts him. But anyway, I feel like Brigitte's doing her best. Think about this. What they're asking of her is a tall order. She's being asked to speak dialogue in her non-native language using a third different accent.
Right.
And she's she's a supermodel. She's not really an actress, but imagine getting cast in a movie where all your dialogue is in German and you're supposed to deliver it in an Australian accent. So can you speak German in an Australian accent for us?
Hold on, give me a second. I got to into the character.
I can't even process that.
No, I don't even know what it would look
you
like.
Danish lady.
Yeah.
We want you to speak English with a Russian accent.
Yeah.
It's the fuck? I can't. How am I going to do that?
I want to imagine the vocal coach getting the call for this one and going, finally, this is the moment I've been waiting for my entire career.
This is the challenge of all challenges.
This is the challenge of my lifetime. If I can pull this off, I will retire.
So Ludmilla is saying that, the Americans, you have this built-in belief that you're better than us in every way. And Nikolai is saying it's all lies and propaganda to support the violent, United States government.
Don't call us violent. How dare you?
Paulie's heard enough. And he butts in to say, that the Soviets are full of shit. It's like shades of when Paulie popped off at the press conference in Rocky 2 when he wanted to talk shit to Apollo. But there's there's so many recycled bits from other Rocky movies within this movie. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So Paulie is like, you're the ones who are keeping your people oppressed with the threat of violence.
Preach it, Paulie. Preach it.
Paulie's like throwing more insults at him. And Nikolai is saying, Drago's going to beat Rocky, and that's going to prove how weak America has become, which I think has been their full, that's their agenda from the get-go, right?
Right. This is because this single battle between Drago and Rocky will determine the fate of the Cold War.
Absolutely.
That's how important this is.
The fate of the world is hanging in the balance.
Hanging in the balance on this one bout. Yeah. This one unsanctioned bout that no one is taking seriously. There are no stakes with this fight.
And now elsewhere, Adrian returns home to find just dozens of reporters on her driveway.
We need to spend some time talking about this.
On her private property.
On her private property.
They've just invaded their home. As if they're not they live in a gated house.
Yeah, they do.
Sure.
There's no way they got in here.
For sure.
I remember when I started doing research for this movie, this never obviously occurred to me when I was a kid. And now that I'm an adult watching this, literally my first thought was where is the security? They have to have security.
Absolutely.
And just it was so...
They've invaded their home.
Yeah, it was so over the top that it actually took me out of the moment.
A truck.
Yeah.
A machine. Truck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't even realize I was doing that, but I'm going to take credit for that. It actually took me out of the movie because it was so preposterous that these press would be here that I couldn't... again, we say this all the time. We try to forgive the movie for as much as we could. And I don't know what it was, but this moment, I was like, I can't forgive the movie for this. This is so absurd. Anyway.
Well, we saw this newspaper montage earlier, right?
Yeah.
Where it seems like all the shit's in the newspapers already that this fight's happening.
Right.
Yet Adrian seems unaware of it.
I know, exactly. She's completely oblivious to it.
They're like, what, are you going to Russia? Why? Christmas? What's happening?
What?
And she's like, I don't know what you people are talking about.
And I thought she was denying it at first, but she kept saying that over and over again. And it's just maybe she actually doesn't know? How did this happen?
Yes, no, I think she clearly doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
It's demanding they get off the property. I imagine she goes inside and it's release the hounds. Release the army of Rottweilers.
Oh my God, hell yeah.
Destroy these reporters. But now later on, Rocky returns home to find a none too pleased Adrian. It was very justified for her to be pissed at him.
100%.
So she wants to know, why did you take this fight against Drago? And Rocky says, I had to do what I had to do. Essentially. And she disagrees.
Nope.
He says, look, I got to leave here. I got to leave all the comforts of home. I'm going to go train in Russia, away from all the distractions. Did you notice the house was wall-to-wall curtains?
I did.
It was just curtains and tapestries on every surface.
This strikes me.
Wild.
This strikes me of Stallone giving the production designer some sort of strange. I want it to feel intimate and comfortable because it's not a comfortable situation. And the production's are like, I don't know what the fucking means.
What's the richest? What would it let you know these people are rich?
Yeah.
What if they were just curtains on the walls? What?
All I know is that the production designer probably had no fucking idea.
How would a rich human live?
Yeah. Again. I love the idea that Stallone occasionally breaks into his native tongue and people are like, what did you say? He's like, oh, sorry. It's my paralyzed lip. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Absolutely. But so Adrian's like, look, don't make any sudden decisions here.
Yeah.
And she's like, a lot of people, live with pain. And he's like, well, those people don't have a choice. I do. So Adrian's like, but you could lose everything. And then Rocky's like, all this luxury shit that we have, that's not everything.
Which is a complete reversal
Yeah.
From Rocky 3.
That's what makes it extra stupid.
Right.
Exactly. It's literally the opposite of the argument they had in Rocky 3, where Adrian was like, this isn't everything.
Right.
And he's like, no, I don't want to lose what I got.
Right.
And she's like, no, what do we have that we can't replace?
Right.
You know,
exactly.
You got to do what's right for you. It's just weird that it's completely flipped. But it's recycling old Rocky tropes.
More Rocky troping. Yeah.
Yeah. So Adrian's like, I can't understand this. Like, there's nothing to be gained by fighting Drago.
Again, she's 100% correct.
That's kind of true.
Yeah.
Like, what does he prove by doing this?
Right.
That America's number one?
Right. I know. Exactly.
Or that I'm better than Apollo was because I can beat the guy that Apollo couldn't beat.
Right. I know.
Like,
what kind of message are you sending if you do this?
Brings Apollo back.
No.
Or gives his death any kind of meaning.
And in fact, you're kind of playing into the Russians' hands even by entertaining this.
Yeah. So Adrian wants to know then, why can't you change your thinking? Everyone else does. And Rocky's like, I'm a fighter and I can't change that. That goes back to what we were saying earlier in a previous episode. Like, I think the theme of the movie is supposed to be that can a person change their nature?
Right.
At this point, Rocky is on the Apollo philosophy that people can't change. And he says, we can't change what we are. We can't change anything. All we can do is go with what we are. But Adrian's like telling him, fighting Drago is suicide. You can't win.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rocky's like, ugh. Adrian always tells the truth. It's a weird line.
Yeah, it's a weird line.
It's a tough pill to swallow here from your wife, that she doesn't believe you can win. But Rocky's like, maybe I can't win, but I can stand face to face with this fucker and I can take everything that he can dish out. And, to beat me, he's going to have to kill me.
Which is like, why are you saying this to your wife? What the fuck, dude?
She doesn't want to hear this. She doesn't want to hear this. He says, for Drago to do that, he's going to have the heart to go toe-to-toe with me and be willing to die himself. And I don't know that he's got the heart to do that. And then he walks away.
Can I just pause for a second? The lighting in the scene was so bizarre.
It was distracting. So Adrian is at the top of the stairs, practically completely in silhouette. You can barely even see her. Meanwhile, Rocky is at the bottom of the stairs, and the lighting guys they've got a light shining through some sort of banister or something. Right, yeah.
And it's casting these really strange, inconsistent shadows over Rocky's face. And every time we cut back to him, the shadows are different, and it is really disorienting.
I get what they were trying to do. He's trapped or he's being tormented. Right. He's in tormented state. But it was weird.
Super distracting.
And I was expecting that the scene would be drastically different in the director's cut.
Mm-hmm.
And although I think they used a lot of different takes, you could tell because the lighting didn't match at all.
Yep.
Like the content of the scene was more or less the same. And I'm like,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so cut to, it's montage time.
Fuck yes. Drink, everybody. We get another montage.
It starts out like a Lamborghini commercial or something, like cranking the car up, the Lamborghini Jalpa.
Isn't there even a cut to the exhaust of the Lamborghini as it drives away?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was like the key in the ignition of the door handle.
And you see the Southpaw license plate.
The license plate.
Yeah.
For sure. So Rocky's driving around in his Lamborghini, listening to No Easy Way Out by Robert Tupper.
Oh, my God.
And he relives the first 3.5 movies from the beginning of Rocky 1 through like 5 minutes ago.
I, as a kid, never understood this montage at all. I was just like, okay, this is a part of the movie that's happening.
For me, I had not seen Rocky or Rocky 3.
Right.
So like 50% of this was like new content. I had no idea of the original context or anything.
I mean, imagine watching this as a kid without having seen these movies.
Yeah.
And then I just trying to fill in the blanks about what any of this meant.
Oh, I guess he and Apollo were friends.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah. They go way back.
He had like a Trilby hat at one point. All right. Okay.
It's like, but he's flashing back to shit that literally just happened.
I know. The stairs. He flashes back to Adrian on the stairs.
Talking on the stairs. It's like, the fuck? He's flashing back to like the Apollo and Drago fight, which is like a week ago or something.
Yeah, exactly.
The montage is fucking nuts as well. So he's like looking around at everything except the road. Like he's he's staring and looking all around.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm like, remember Rocky 2? Where this fucker couldn't drive his car in broad daylight without crashing because he was so blind in one eye. And now he's like, it's just like a totally different character.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I don't know what the montage is even supposed to be conveying.
Not a clue.
Like,
because he's already made his mind up. He's not debating what his next move is here.
It's also like there's just shit in here that has no bearing on whatever struggle it is that he's going through right now.
Well, I mean, isn't there a point where he's like looking in the mirror from Rocky 1 and he pulls a photo off the mirror and he what does that have to do with anything?
A boy, or he's having flashbacks to like the first time I fucked Adrian.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
exactly.
What does this have to do with what you're going through right now?
I swear to God, I thought when we were watching the director's cut that he was just going to cut this completely from the movie, and he left it in completely intact. There was not a single change.
They should add clips of like the robot.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
Polly the robot. Right? Remember when I fought Thunderlips?
And this was not a short montage. Like,
no,
this goes on for like
it's like a music,
5 minutes
it's like a
long.
music video.
Yeah,
it's the full song.
The whole song plays.
I thought that the director's cut, they'd recut it or something.
Or anything. But
all
no,
he
it
did
was
he just made it black and white.
Yeah, that's right. All the flashbacks were black and white. That's right.
I just love to imagine Stallone. He's like, can we make it black and white so people know it's the past?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's like, there's a button for that.
Yeah, there's literally a button for that. There's literally a button for that.
Remove the color. Right. Yes, I can do that. Okay. The people know it's black and white. People know it's the best. The people might be confused.
This is such a common thing that people do. They've put a button in. So this is not revolutionary.
But so sometime later then, there's like a chauffeur. He's loading luggage into the trunk of a limousine. The robot is back in the picture.
It'd been 10 minutes since the robot was in the movie.
And it's telling the chauffeur to be careful with Paulie's luggage. Like, this robot is so sophisticated.
Oh, my God.
It knows which luggage belongs to Paulie. It knows what plaid is. It's like, be careful with the plaid ones.
Oh, my God.
They belong to the boss or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then the robot can tell that the chauffeur's being rough with the luggage.
Yeah.
It's like, no, be careful with that shit. Don't just toss it in.
Yeah.
Like,
this ain't no ChatGPT shit. This is Terminator level shit.
The robot is also nagging Paulie nonstop.
God.
It's gone from like this masculine robot to a servile sex robot to like the nagging wife.
Nagging wife. I mean, isn't that just the description of every marriage?
I was like, this robot has more of a character arc than any other character in the movie. Like, it at least changed from beginning to end. Like, everything else, nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
But the robot is telling Paulie to bag a toothbrush because tobacco stains your teeth. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times.
God.
It's like, holy shit. This is crazy. And then Paulie's like telling the robot, stop busting my chops. And tells the driver, like, I'm going to have the robot's wires tied when I get back.
What
the fuck does that even mean?
I know. Are you killing this robot? Or are you afraid that because you're
fucking
give it a
hysterectomy?
I know. Are you fucking it without protection, Paulie?
The chauffeur gives a look like, I'm not getting paid enough for this shit.
Dude, I would be giving that same fucking look.
Now, meanwhile, Rocky is upstairs saying goodbye to Junior. Mm-hmm. And Junior wants to know, when will you be back? Or when are you scared? And Rocky's like, well, yeah, I'm scared. Like, I get scared sometimes, but if you're not scared of a thing, like, then it's sort of meaningless.
It's
like,
meaningless, right?
It's being scared and still doing the thing that shows that you're courageous, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, but sometimes it's like that going that extra little bit further when you're scared that's really important.
Yeah, sure.
He says, going that one more round when you don't think you can. That makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean? And the kid nods. It's like, bitch, no, you don't.
No, he has no idea what the fuck's going on.
You're 8 years old, motherfucker.
Yeah.
No, you don't know what he's talking about.
You're also probably still smarter than your dad, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Rocky tells Junior, I love you. Gives him the big hug. Tells him, don't forget to feed your robot.
It's not your robot at this point.
It's not yours.
It's clearly Paulie's robot.
Doesn't he? But anyway, I guess we get it. So we get Paulie's down in the driveway yelling out, come on, the meter's running.
Yeah. Classic Paulie line.
So Rocky goes outside. He gets in the limo. He looks back and he sees Adrian's like looking out the window, giving him this long look. And it's like, no goodbye with Adrian?
No, none.
That's shitty.
Nah, it was super shitty.
We get the actual goodbye in the director's cut.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, he actually added that back in. It's weird that they shot that and then he decided to remove that from the... Yeah, it's so weird.
Even though it is like it's literally recycled lines from part 2, he's like, remember when I told you that I never asked you to stop being a woman, so don't ask me to stop being a man? Remember what? It's like, this would have been the second heart-to-heart, in the movie. Where he's basically just telling her, remember something I told you in an earlier, better movie? He's like, hey, remember when I told you that thing? Well, think back on that because I don't feel like writing something new.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Think on it.
That being said, this scene was still necessary because it completely changes the context for Adrian. Because in the theatrical cut, you watch this and you're thinking, Jesus, she's a bitch. Right.
She thinks he's going to die.
Right.
And she's like, I'm giving you the silent treatment.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, yeah, they need it because we're supposed to think that this is the strong marriage, right?
Right.
Like there should have been a better goodbye between the two of them.
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, even though the scene wasn't great in the director's cut, it was such a necessary moment between the two of them because it completely changes the context when he's getting into the limo and sees her in the
There's no
window.
scenario in which there would not be a goodbye. Like, well, if you guys are this childish, like, I'm not gonna say goodbye because I don't agree with you doing this, or if Rocky's like, I'm not going to seek you out and force a goodbye between us. I never realized how crazy it was until I was like an adult watching it. Like, you're not going to like say goodbye, acknowledge like, okay, well, I don't even know. They never make it clear like how far it is ahead of the fight.
Yeah. This movie plays
is
fast
it
and loose
is it
with
2
time.
weeks? Is it 2 months?
This is the thing that like was so confusing to me because, and we'll get to this in the next couple episodes. Like, how fast does Rocky grow a beard? Because it is...
It's true.
Is he leaving in October, November, early December? Like, when is he leaving?
So granted, like, Drago, the fight against Apollo was not a very strenuous fight, I guess, for Drago.
Right.
But typically, you're not going to fight more than, like, maybe twice in a year. Like, you're going to take several months between fights.
Yeah.
So for the fact that, like, I'm already like leaving. This has all happened just very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. This movie plays.
It's very sunny and seems warm where they are, which is California. Maybe supposed to be Philly. We don't really know, but at a minimum, I feel like he's going out there like at least a month or two before the fight would happen.
At least 2 months, in my opinion. At least 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just full on winter already in Russia, but that shit probably starts in October.
They're way the fucking up in Siberia, so it's like, So
okay.
I bought that, but the movie does such a bad job of establishing timelines that you're just sort of left going,
It's just such a rush to get to the end.
Yeah.
That it's like, normally this shit would take days and weeks and months, but we're just gonna fly by in minutes.
This is like a dude in a one-night stand rushing foreplay, basically, is what it boils down to.
I'm not here to like fucking make you feel good.
No, I'm not here for you. Right, exactly.
But anyways, Rocky gets in the car and they drive off. And that's the end of this chapter.
That is. We've come to the end.
Rocky's heading to Russia.
And it is nothing but montages and boxing for the rest of this movie.
Will he be able to beat Drago? We don't know.
Drago
seems invincible.
He does. Established famously invincible.
Okay. No, but thanks for listening. As always, we hope you're staying warm and safe this holiday season.
Indeed.
Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you choose to celebrate.
That's
absolutely. Right. And we'll be back hopefully with a little surprise guest to take us across the finish line. We'll let you marinate on that.
Can't wait.
Come back, please, next week. We'll be talking about Rocky in Russia, how he's going to train, how he's going to manage to beat this android robot, whatever it is that Drago is supposed to be. So come back for that.
Yeah, and we'll be back.